what is the Atmarama? Why? It's Krishna's attractiveness. And this verse is so important in Lord Chaitanya's teachings that he really emphasized this verse actually in a number of places. His teachings to Sanatana Goswami, the deliverance of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And this is such, sometimes we look at it and we think, oh, this is a pretty deep verse. What does it mean? Different varieties of Atmaramas, or yeah, the Atmarama verse, I know that one. But it's actually, this becomes the pivot point in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because thus far, what have we heard? We've heard from the very beginning, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We hear about Krishna, his qualities, that he's Param Satyam, he is the absolute truth, he is greater than the greatest, he provides everything through his agencies of Brahma and others. And then we hear very systematically the process of having devotion to Krishna, process of hearing and chanting and associating with devotees and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam daily. This is exempt, or it's pointed out and given great prominence in the beginning, very systematically, and within 4 or 5 verses, Vyasadeva and Sutta Goswami, they pack up the entire processes of devotional service in 14 different stages of devotion. And what is the result of that? Does anyone remember what the result of those things are? And it's repeated in Sanskrit again and again. Ye Atma Suprasidati. Again and again, this is repeated. If you really want happiness, if you really want pleasure, it is not the pleasure of the senses and the body or even the mind. It is the satisfaction of your true self. And so this is exemplified there of the process of devotional service. And then they want to, the sages get so excited actually. They want to know, well, what is the origin? Where does this start? Who wrote this Bhagavatam? How did it come about? Okay, then we heard about Vyasadeva getting this greatest mercy from Narada. And Narada telling the mercy that he got and how it was a very simple act even. Devotion starts with very simple acts by serving devotees, by hearing and chanting. Okay, and then who is the speaker of Bhagavatam? Tell us about him. Okay, told us in the beginning of this chapter, the first 5 or 6 verses. And then, so this yesterday's verse and today's verse kind of sum up Sukadeva Goswami's transformation, because this is what we're all looking for when we come to, if you come to religion or come to God, you're looking for something that's transformative, something that's different than what the material world has provided you thus far. And so we come to Krishna, we come to a path of devotion, a path of service to God with that intent. And so and all of them have come from different backgrounds and different points of realizations and different practices. So Atmarama Chamanayo, all the different ones, all the varieties of them, they're all coming to the point. First of all, I'm not getting satisfaction. I don't have Ye Atma Suprasiti, and I don't even have Ye Body Suprasiditi. What to speak of our Atma, the self? I don't even have Ye Body Suprasiditi or Ye Bank Account Suprasiditi. I don't have it. So what is it? What will give me great satisfaction? And so then there's this thought, okay, there's something higher, there's something perhaps subtler. And they strive for it. Sometimes it's just renouncing everything material. We'll renounce everything material and push it aside. Then I'll be happy. And so that's one type of Atmarama. They actually renounce. They've given everything up. And then some in those stages, in that stage, they look to Brahman. They look for that peaceful situation, Shanti, which is no material influence, and let me just merge with that transcendence. That happens to be a segue into what today is. Does anybody know what today is? Today, although we've been cheated a little bit with astrology, there's supposed to be 5 days of Bhishma Panchaka, which started yesterday. And today is supposed to be Dwadasi, but it's actually Trayodasi. So how they figure that out, I don't know how they do it. But in any case, on the Dwadasi, which should be today, or at least, because our calculation of days is certainly, we're accustomed to the date, the solar days. But the calculation of Vedic astrology is on the lunar cycles and the titis and all the different divisions of time, which you can study if you like in the 3rd canto. But however they figure it out, the Trayodasi or the Dwadasi was sometime between yesterday and today. So on that day, which is considered to be the last aspect of the Govardhan Lila, was Nanda Maharaj. And you could see, if you, just because we're confused about, well, is it Trayodasi or Dwadasi today? So Nanda was also a little confused. Like, is this really Ekadasi or is it Dwadasi? So he wanted to take bath, but he took bath at the wrong time because he didn't check with the right astrologers, perhaps. So he took bath and he was captured by Varuna Dev, who is the Lord or the demigod that controls the waters. And he was pulled down. And we won't go into the whole pastime, but the pastime is such that he just wanted to see Krishna because he heard a lot about Krishna. And when we hear Krishna's pastimes, we often hear how the devatas are watching it and they're experiencing it, and they're looking at it, and they're just like, some of them are mesmerized, some of them are just so happy, and some of them even question sometimes. Sometimes they play tricks on Krishna. And so, but Varuna, he wanted to also just see Krishna because he's in the water all the time, right? At least he's in his kingdom, wherever that may be. So he captured Nanda Maharaj and he brought him to his court. And all the cowherd men, all they noticed was that Nanda went into the water and he didn't come out. And so they thought they drowned. So Krishna, again, as they typically do, when something goes wrong, they say, Krishna, Krishna Mahabharata, oh, most wonderful Krishna, please come. And so your father is in the Yamuna, let's go. Okay, so Krishna and Balaram together, actually, they went down into the kingdom of Varuna and they released Nanda Maharaj. And again, there's a very nice description in Krishna book in the Bhagavatam you can read about today. But one very wonderful thing happened at the end of that, is that when Krishna brought Nanda back onto the shore, all the cowherd men, they were surrounding Krishna and they were astonished. Krishna, it's so wonderful, Krishna. And Krishna gave them something. He gave them a vision of the vision of Brahman. So you can imagine, he gave them the vision of what Sukadev Goswami had in perfection. This vision of Brahman, this wonderful, effulgent aspect of God. One of his aspects, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, one of his aspects is Brahman, all pervading, all encompassing, and everything is contained in it. And he gave him this vision, and they were astonished. But they would much rather see Krishna. Now, why do you think that was? Yeah, they loved Krishna. I don't want nothingness. I mean, because sometimes we feel we want nothing, we're just suffering with bills and debts and duties and responsibilities. And sometimes it's very hard. I mean, I feel we're all very fortunate here at this very particular, but different areas of the world is so unfortunate and so much suffering, and you just want to give it up. To have some Shanti emerged Brahman would be wonderful. So he wanted to show that to the cowherd men, but they didn't want it. They were already, they were really, they just had this devotion to Krishna. They had this attraction to Krishna that nothing else, even like this most splendid effulgence, they just thought, oh, that's nice. But what's Krishna going to do next? Or what will we do next? So this is just to honor the day, but then let's go back to this topic and how this is going to kind of pivot now, because we've heard about Krishna's qualities. We've heard about how to develop love and devotion for him. We heard about how to become really happy, real transcendental happiness. And then we needed to hear about who is the speaker, what are his qualifications, his or her qualification. Here's the speaker, Sukadev. Now we want to hear about the hearer. What are the hearer's qualification? And actually the rest of this canto is speaking about that. But Vyasadeva and Sutta do it in a very clever way, a very roundabout way. It's not just, okay, let me tell you about the hearer and that'll be it. Let's do it in such a way that we attract everybody to this as well. Because thus far we've heard Krishna more theoretically. Oh, we want to hear about Krishna. Okay, that's very nice. And from that we'll get this. And from doing devotion, we'll get this. And from all these things. It's very theoretical sometimes. But we don't actually hear about Krishna. Here's something that Krishna is doing. But here, because they're establishing that above Brahman, above any other type of transcendental realization or God realization, there is this topmost realization of Krishna as a person, and that how he interacts with his devotees. And so, in a very roundabout way of introducing Parikshit Maharaj, he is simultaneously introducing Krishna for the very first time. And there is a particular aspect of Krishna he's introducing. You would think, oh, well, let's just go to the most charming Krishna. Well, let's go to Damodar Krishna, because we're all experiencing this right now in this month of Damodar, and it's almost over. It's almost over. It's 5 days left. Now 4 days, and then with the astrology is really only 3 days now. So however you're calculating it, it's wow, did we take advantage of it? Boy, were we attracted by Krishna. Naman Swadam, he's the Ishvara, but he's so charming, he's shaking, he's a plaything in the hands of his mother. So we become so attracted to him. But this is what is going to be now. So he could have just gone there, or he could have gone to Krishna's highest pastimes of Krishna dancing with the gopis, or Krishna's relationship with his parents, or Krishna killing the demons, or this or that. But he went to a particular Krishna that is most important for us to actually dedicate our lives to reading the rest of these cantos. It's not just a haphazard thing that these things are happening in Bhagavatam. Very scientifically presented in such a way that we don't ever want to give this book up. We just want to embrace it. We want to study it very intently. And so what is that aspect of Krishna? Does anybody have an idea? Some of you may know the next story, so you may be able to conclude. This is called logic. Yes, Steve.
I'm thinking his quality of being merciful and compassionate.
Yes, to who?
Maharaj Parikshit. Oh, before Ashwatthama?
To us. Maharaj Parikshit, yes, is one. Who else? Who primarily?
Us?
Well, I guess you need to know the story of the next chapter. But there is somebody else. Yes.
It's Draupadi.
Very close. Very good. Draupadi is included. Yes, she would be included. But then,
what quality or
no? Which person? Because we already Stephen had already brought. He's very merciful. So now to who? Trying to get that.
Krishna. Bhishma.
That's another roundabout little story that's coming. Yes. Pandavas. Yes. And which Pandava? Arjuna. And what's his name for that Arjuna? Parthasarathi. This is the Krishna we're about to be introduced to. Parthasarathi. Such an extraordinary Krishna. Because when we're hearing about Damodar, we're hearing that Damodar he's bound up by his mother, and he's afraid of his mother. This is astonishing. But equally as astonishing, and perhaps you need a little more taste of rasa to really fully appreciate Damodar Krishna. But here, in a way of chivalry and conquering and power, he is showing that same quality, but to his devotee Arjuna. And Partha Sarathi means, Partha is the name of Arjuna. Arjuna has 10 names, we won't go into it. But Partha is one. And Partha is more or less the son of Pita, so he's known as Partha. But Sarathi means he's a chariot driver. So he's a chauffeur, you could say. He's the chauffeur, he's the Uber of Arjuna. So, and we think, just as we think, oh, Namamishwaram, Satchidananda, eternally blissful, but he's shaking in the hands of his mother. But is he also just a chariot driver to Arjuna? What does that glorify? What is that? So this picture of Krishna we're about to get, and please, when you're reading through these, pay very close attention to Krishna, what he does, because this is it. We're not going to get another glimpse of Krishna directly in action until the 10th canto. We'll hear some devotees remembering Krishna a little bit. We'll hear Uddhava remember Krishna in the 3rd canto. Maybe a little bit reference here or there, but kind of not direct. This is the first direct glimpse of Krishna Kriya doing something. doing something. And so what is he doing? He is driving a chariot of his devotee and giving him advice. Sometimes, you're in an Uber or somebody, where's a good place to eat? Oh, you can go. Oh, you can go. Here's a nice place to stay. So Krishna is giving Arjuna advice as a menial. You could say it's menial. I mean, this was one of, and then of course we're prompted by the verses coming up, 12, because he wants to hear, because the sutta is asking, I want, the sutta is saying, now I'll begin this transcendental narration of Lord Krishna. So you would think, okay, we're going to hear, Kamsa, you fool, as when Krishna is, or when Vasudeva and Devaki are being driven by Kamsa. That's where, when he says, I'm going to begin this transit. No, he begins it somewhere else. Begins it with a very important point that we need to really imbibe and understand why this is here. Because we want to be one of these Atmaramas. We don't want to just be free from suffering and free from this. We want to be attracted to Krishna. That's what we want. That's what the devotee wants. So now I'm going to tell you about this, and then some of your other questions, because there were questions that was asked. Who is Mars Priksha? How was he born? How was he protected? What was it, and what happened to the sons of Pandu? So that's there. And then he begins this narration. It's very, it dives in a little bit to what we hear from Mahabharata. And almost in one verse, he summarizes this huge work of Mahabharata. When the respective warriors of both camps, namely the Kauravas and Pandavas, were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the dead warriors obtained their deserved destination, and when the sons of Dhritarashtra fell down lamenting, his spine broken in a cheated mood. He was cheated. There was cheating going on. Being beaten by the club of Bhimasen, the son of Dronacharya, Ashwatthama, then beheaded the 5 sons. So there's such chivalry. So it's setting a scene where we are introduced to a Krishna that is to attract us, because we are all on some battlefield in our lives. We're all struggling with so many things, with our mind, with our senses, sometimes with our bank balance, sometimes with our, however, we're struggling. And when a struggling person doesn't have a shelter, a person, there's a lot of anguish in their life. And here we're being shown, here is the shelter. Here is the shelter that's available. Duryodhana, however, disapproved of the heinous act of beheading these children. So that's, I could talk on Mahabharata all day, but there's a lot in that. But then on the 15th, and Draupadi, the mother of the 5 children of Pandavas, after hearing of the massacre of her sons, began to cry in distress with eyes full of tears. So Draupadi also is the object of Krishna's mercy. We've heard that, how when she was disrobed, Krishna came directly to her, trying to pass her. But this Parthasarathi, this Krishna who's come to Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada tells this story so charmingly, that Lord Chaitanya, he was traveling in South India, and he came upon one temple, I forget which one it was. Tirupati, yes. So down South India, and out in front of the temple there was a fella out there. He had the book. He was a Brahmana. Huh? Ranganath, that's it. So he had the book, and he was just going, and everybody was coming by him, and they were like, oh, hey, Brahmana, how is your reading of Bhagavad Gita? He was illiterate. So he couldn't read, but he had the book. Maybe he heard a few words and he just kind of rumbled them off, and everybody would make fun of him, and he would just bow his head. But he was determined. I'm just going to to read this because, and I'll tell you in a moment. So, but when Lord Chaitanya walked by him and he saw him, and he also, as everybody else would inquire from him, "What are you doing?" And he would say, "Oh, I'm reading Bhagavad." Laughing, I'm not really reading Bhagavad. And so Lord Chaitanya saw it, and he said, "Oh, Brahmana, what are you doing?" And the Brahmana certainly felt, obviously, in Lord Chaitanya's presence, great compassion. He wasn't a regular person to come make fun of me. He said, "Oh, I'm reading Bhagavad Gita." And Lord Chaitanya said, I see you are doing this, but you're not enunciating." And he said, "Oh, yeah, because I'm illiterate. I can't read, but I'm reading Bhagavad Gita." So Lord Chaitanya was curious and says, "Why is this? Why is it like this?" He says, "Oh, my guru had told me that I should read this Bhagavad Gita every day, and so I'm doing it." I said, "That's okay." And Lord Chaitanya said, "That's okay. I get it. You're doing it. You're very determined to do it. But I also see that you were crying." So you can imagine if you have a book and you don't know how to read, and because books are generally trying to convey something to you, to give a story or to give, knowledge, or to give some information. And so Lord Chaitanya, "I see you're crying though. I don't understand." I said, "Yes, I'm crying." So there's a picture here of Krishna on the chariot, his Parthasarathi, and he says, when I see this picture of Parthasarathi, and that Krishna took up the reins for his devotee, when I see that, I cry. It's Krishna. He's giving himself, just as he's giving himself to his mother Yasoda, he's giving himself to his devotees. And the devotee, for this, the devotee is like, okay, because typically we're going to God, we want something. "Oh, God, save me from this. God, give me this. God, protect this or protect that." And that's good. That's okay. If we're going to God, well, at least we're going to God. But hardly is it that we're going just to be appreciative of Him. And so seeing others in this situation being fully given shelter to by Krishna, this really melts the hearts of the devotees. And so then you want to know, and that's why it's here in this part of the Bhagavatam, and you want to know about this person. What makes him be, even though he is the Supreme Personality, even though he has his own abode, Satyam Param Dhima, he is absolute, he has his own abode, he has his own enjoyment, still he comes here. Why is he coming here? Because you can imagine, and what can we imagine? We imagine, okay, a very rich person, richest person, billionaires or trillionaires or whatever, they usually have a house, apart from everybody else, big walls, and they keeping everybody out, and they're just in their world. And you would think, okay, well, the richest person would most likely be like that. They would want to be on their own. Why do they need to go? They don't need to loiter in the bazaars or the downtowns or this or that. They just have so many people to take care of all that. But here is a person, Supreme Person, Satyam Param. He is coming down, and he is not only is he coming down to be around, but he's coming down to serve his devotees. So if we can see that, if we can get a glimpse of this, and this is what's going to be kind of enunciated, and Krishna won't be saying much. he'll say a little thing here and a little thing there, but really notice what he's doing. Sometimes he's just smiling. Sometimes, it's a description. Oh, Krishna just smiled when he saw his devotee like completely distraught. We call it like freaking out. It's like, and Krishna smiled, and but then he gives him the answer. He gives him the clue, and we see this again and again and again of this Parthasarathi Krishna. Again and again on the battle of Kurukshetra, so many times Arjuna, he should have been destroyed easily. And even there's a description in the Mahabharata that at the end, once the last Kaurava was gone, which was this Ashwatthama, Krishna said, "Okay, Arjuna, get off the chariot, stand back a little bit." So Arjuna got off. Krishna, as soon as Krishna got off the chariot, it burst into flames, it turned into ashes instantly. And even Yudhisthira said, "Krishna, what's happened?" He said, "Oh, only because I was on this chariot did it not." I mean, the missiles of Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Ashwatthama, all these super celestial missiles that were thrown and shot at this chariot should have destroyed it long ago. But only because I was on it, I protected Arjuna. And there's another instance of Arjuna. The relationship is amazing. That Arjuna, he is a master at the bullfighting, and he's shooting arrows. And you don't have time when you're in the midst of a big crowd to say, go left, go right. No, Arjuna put his feet on the shoulders of Krishna. And he would kick him on the right, meaning to go right, or kick him on the left, go left. Just imagine Krishna, the supreme Ishvaram, Satchidananda Rupam, with his devotee, with his feet on his. We consider the feet to be the lowest, right? Don't put our feet on devotees. We don't put our feet on the deities. But Arjuna, his relationship was such. And this would bring the Brahmana to tears to think about these things. Another time, even sometimes Arjuna would get upset with Krishna. I think it was Bhagadat. He was very powerful, and he had this weapon called the Vaishnava weapon. Vaishnava means of Vishnu. He was given it to him from something through the line of his family. And this weapon would never be failed. Whoever it hit, no matter how powerful they would be destroyed. And so he threw it at Arjuna. And Krishna is driving the chariot, and he made the horses bow down and dug a little hole for the chariot to lower, so that the arrow would hit Krishna in the chest instead of Arjuna. Something like, there was some description. He did something with the chariot to make it hit him instead of Arjuna. And when it hit him, it turned into a flower garland, because Krishna is Vishnu. He's the origin of Vishnu. But Arjuna was a little upset. He's like, "Okay, Shiva, I'm capable of, weathering these things." And he said, "No, not this one. Not this one." And again and again and again and again, Krishna is doing these things to protect his devotee. And so what we're getting a glimpse of here, and what the intent is that we will be able to, with this little 3 or 4 chapters of Krishna, maybe 5 or 6, we'll get that determination or that love of Krishna, that dependence on Krishna as Arjuna did. And maybe that is the most important thing for us, given our circumstances. So it's very, and I wanted to share a quick thing. Oh, I had something. I had another show and tell, but I'll do that. Didn't see that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes in his Saranagati about protection, about accepting Krishna as our maintainer and protector. And one of these songs, very wonderful. It's based on Yamuna. His Stotra Ratna about being surrendered. So this song really accentuates the mood in which a devotee should try to take on in feeling this partasarati in our lives. So it says, if you wish to slay someone, Krishna, the Supreme Personality, if you wish, then who could possibly protect them? So there's also an old saying, Rakhi Krishna, Mare Krishna, Rakhi. Who can, and even the to play for our children, it's a little song. And Krishna wants to protect. I can't remember. Something very nice. So who could possibly protect him? The three worlds are subservient to him. He is the supreme controller of all the worlds. If he wants to wrap it up, he can wrap it up just by inhaling sometimes, and not even inhaling through his breath, just inhaling through his pores. The demigods headed by Brahma are your countless servants who stand ready to execute your command. And then he goes on, he starts giving this list of Krishna's majesty, Ishvaram, Satchidananda Rupam. By your will, all the planets incessantly exercise their auspicious or inauspicious influences. Illness, grief, death, fear occur by your will. Your command is all powerful. In fear of you, the wind blows, the sun and the moon rise and set, all performing their regulative tasks. You are the Supreme Lord, the ultimate spirit, transcendentally situated beyond even the beyond. So this description of Krishna, and this is, you could say, maybe the more typical understanding of God. This is the typical understanding of God. He is the supreme controller. He is controlling everything. The planets and everything is moving. You are eternally pure. Sada Shuddha. Siddha Kama. And he is Siddha Kama. His desires are automatically fulfilled. He has these shaktis that fulfill his desires just by him desiring it. Everything is fulfilled. But Bhakta Vatsala Nama, your name is like Parthasarthi. It is Bhakta Vatsala. And Vatsala is, you say it's affectionate, but Vatsa is a calf. And if you've ever seen like a newborn calf and its mother, how affectionate they are. The mother is just always licking the calf. There's so much affection there. So we take that example, Vatsa, that you are like that. That relationship of the mother and the calf is like you with your devotee, Bhakta Vatsa Nama. That is your name. Bhakta Janera Nitya Swami. You are eternally affectionate Lord of your devotees. You are the Swami, you are the Lord of your devotees. And it is not the king commanding that you must love me, and if you don't love me, then I will exile you forever. No, you're affectionate. You're affectionate. Always drawing them in. if you wish to protect them, who can kill them? You are the law of all laws. Vidira vidituni. Your servant, this servant of yours, has bowed down. So this is our entrance point. Here's how we want to, when we hear about this Krishna in the next chapter or two, we want to have something as he's given such attention. We have bowed down submissively at your lotus feet, O Lord. I cherish this relationship. I cherish the faith. So because this part of Saranagati it's not just that the Lord is the protector, but the devotee is fully convinced of the Lord as the protector. It's not an idea. So he cherishes this. He cherishes this idea of Krishna as Bhakta Vatsala, as Parthasarathi. He cherishes it, that you will protect us from all dangers. Such a Lord we have, that we somehow or other, by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, by the parampara, by our Srila Prabhupada bringing it to us, that we're having some aspect. And so again, in the roundabout way of introducing Parikshit, we're going to see this Krishna, this most affectionate Krishna, who loves his devotees, who will do anything for his devotees, who will, today, it's also Bhishma Panchika, and next semester, I assume you'll be reading about Bhishma. And he is willing to give up his reputation for his devotees. Yet another example of Parthasarathi. They played a trick on Bhishma. They took his arrows. It's another long story. You'll hear about it later. But Bhishma was so angry because he's Kshatriya. Kshatriya has to have a bhav. They have to fight. You have to be. You have to have. So he said, today I will either kill Arjuna or Krishna will break his vow. And Krishna's vow was, I'm not going to fight. And everybody knows that when a Kshatriya makes a vow, that's if they give up a vow, that is, what does Krishna say? Infamy is worse than death. To become infamous, Krishna doesn't care. He's already Bhakta Ramyakatava, so he's already the most famous, but he doesn't care. So when Arjuna was, because he's fighting with his grandfather. We all have grandfathers. If you've had an affectionate grandparent or something, think of to fight with them. He's fighting with them, but he's not putting everything into it. And Bhishma is putting everything into it. He's getting angry. He's shooting. But he's also, we'll hear his words, how he's actually liking this relationship. But Krishna couldn't tolerate it. Arjuna was on the brink. He was on the brink of being defeated. And defeat for a Kshatriya doesn't mean, okay, I lost that game, we'll play again. No, defeated means death. And so when Krishna saw this, he just stopped the chariot and got off, and the battlefield was strewn with broken chariots. He picked up a wheel and he was going for Bhishma. And Bhishma just yes, you've broken your vow. You've picked up a weapon. So he fulfilled his vow, and Krishna didn't care about his vow. He was ready to get for his devotee. I'll give up my fame. So I have a little show and tell. We don't have much time, but I have a show and tell about the Atmarama verse. Okay? She's not here, so go a little bit over to probably can hear me, isn't it? It's storming. But I was in my youth, perhaps around your age, my lower 20s. I was the head cook of a big temple in Boston, and we had such opulence there. I think by the mercy of Sri Sri Radha Gopi Ballava, we had such opulence there. We used to get this government surplus of butter, and every month I would go with a van and pick up 40 cases of butter. And those cases were 36 pounds each. So I wouldn't make like buckets or pots of butter. I would make barrels of butter, of ghee. So I had always, constantly, two 30-gallon barrels of ghee. So you can just imagine how fun it would be to cook with unlimited ghee. Of course, that's why we're not as healthy as we should be. But anyway, that I digress a little bit. But I was quite passionate, I would say. When you're a head of a department in a big temple and it's Rath Yatra time or a big festival time, you get a little passionate and you get a little, watch out sometimes, because of course everything in those days was communal. It was very little congregation. It was mostly communal. So we had this wonderful elderly devotee. Her name was Isha, Mother Isha, and she was definitely at that time even in her maybe mid to upper 60s. So she was elderly, but she loved to come. She considered me like her son. We had that relationship. We had a very close relationship actually, and I would call her mother, not just official Mataji, but she was like my mother. It's that close, I would say. And she would always take care of me. So, but one day I was rushing. I think it was a Rath Yatra, and we used to have 3-day Rath Yatras there. So you can imagine a cook on a Rath Yatra time, cooking for hundreds and maybe thousands of people. You get a little passionate. So the kitchen was like, it was in the basement, but then there was a ramp that went down to a very thin hallway, maybe like a hallway as big as this, but it was a ramp, and then that's where the walk-in cooler was. So it would be commonplace for me to be running down that ramp, getting something, running out, running back up, and I would be doing that often. That's kind of like the passion of a cook, because you're cooking like so many preps and so many things, and everything is just run. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be a very peaceful, humble devotee, right? But no, I was like this ball of fire. And one time, on this particular day, Mother Isha happened to be on the ramp, and there wasn't room for 2 people on this ramp. And I came barreling out of this walk-in, and I just slammed right into her. And she just gave, and I, of course, in my passion, was like, what are you in my way for? I didn't say that, but it was like, excuse me. It was like, I just kind of, and she was observing. She was observing because she was like my mother. So the next day, she brings me this gift. I still have it. It's the Amarama verse. She puts it around my arm. You keep this on you. So I said, okay, I'm gonna get it dirty, but I kept it on me, but it made me slow down for a moment and to think, well, why this verse? Why this verse? Because I think when we're going through our life, we have different conceptions of what a devotee is. We're thinking, okay, and she was cutting. This was very cutting, actually. She was saying, oh, you think you're the head cook, and you think you're so great, but this is what real devotion realizations. Him. Freed, also Nirgranta, you're freed from these base attachments that you think you're a head cook, you think you're so special. You need to develop this ahoitikim unalloyed bhakti, ahoitikim bhakta. Be like that. That's what I want, because she was my mother. So she cared. She cared enough that she wrote this by hand. It's not like something she went to Kinko's or to, but she just put a couple pieces of Velcro, and I've kept this, and it's like, it was very touching to that this verse really comes alive for me when I read it. It is the key. You could say it is the key to our advancing in Krishna consciousness. And so this part of the Bhagavatam is driving us there. It's driving us there. So enjoy it and pay attention to Krishna. Watch his actions. He's not going to say a lot. Mostly it'll be Krishna did this, Krishna did that. These people saw Krishna like this from the roof or something like that. Pay attention to it. So, thank you very much. So, any comments? I'll take some comments, questions. Yeah. The last Kartik. Well, it depends which astrologer.